get ready for a new episode of Call Me Crazy with Shiri Gabriel.
All right, welcome, my friends. Welcome to another episode of Call Me Crazy with Shiri Gabriel. And today I'm excited. I'm a little bit nervous and self-conscious, and you're going to see why. Because I have a special guest who her role is to make sure that we are organized. And I like how she actually identifies this as a chronic disorganization. Yeah, that makes it seem like it's very important and almost like a disease, not in a bad way, right? Not in a bad way. So I have with me Gayle Gruenberg, and she is the chief executive organizer of Let's Get Organized. And she's a certified professional organizer in chronic disorganization, certified virtual professional organizer, and an organizer coach. So a lot of organizations. So you see why I'm becoming self-conscious. And I think for all of you listeners, you might start to cringe a little bit as well. Oh no. But I really think that Gayle can help all of us, and she is helping a lot of people, not only personally, but professionally. And this is why I wanted to have a conversation with Gayle. And I'm very honored and very pleased that, Gayle, you actually said yes to having a conversation with me. And I know that we can today help a lot of women, a lot of people, a lot of professionals in this I guess in this area and in this disorganized area of our lives. So, Gayle, I'm going to pass it over to you. Please introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, what you're passionate about. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Shiri. It is such an honor to be here, and you said such kind words. Thank you. Well, it is my profession and my passion to help people improve their lives through being more organized. Because I do work with clients who are chronically disorganized. They often say, I just want to be normal, and that is my goal. Overall, what I want to do with my clients and the people who I come in contact with is play to their strengths and their talents and let them know that they are just amazing, beautiful, incredible, terrific people who are really good at what they do, whatever that is. And if organizing is not it, that's okay. It's a learned skill, and we'll do it together. So there's no shame at all. So that's my overarching philosophy. But to take it a step back, so who am I? Yes, I'm a professional organizer. I started my company at the end of 2003, so it's been a while. Um, and I used to be a CPA. Here I am in the United States. So that's certified public accountant in the US. I know in various parts of the world, it's something else, but it wasn't doing it for me. I just wanted to have a much bigger impact on the world, and be able to interact with people on a closer basis, more one-to-one. I also wanted to have more time with my children, who were very small at the time. And now they're in their mid-20s, which is mind-boggling.
Wow.
As far as like my personal interest, because I don't think anybody is totally one-sided. Something that I've been doing for the last few years that completely lights up my world is swing dance.
Swing dance. What
Yes,
is that?
it's well, I don't want to say it's old-fashioned, but it kind of is. It's Lindy Hop and a little bit of Charleston, and there are others like there's called Balboa and Shag and Shim Sham. And to me, this is a bucket list item, and I can just go on and on about dancing.
That sounds like so much fun.
It's a blast.
Wow. Is it like, do you do it as like line dancing? Is that how it works?
Well, the kind of swing that I've been learning is more like a circle. There's West Coast swing and there's East Coast
Of
swing,
course there is.
right? And there's Savoy and there's this. So what I'm learning mostly is East Coast, which definitely takes up more space on a dance floor. Whereas what I've learned about West Coast swing is it is more linear. But if you can imagine like say in the 40s and the 50s, a couple doing the jitterbug.
Yeah.
It's like that.
That's so cool. Who do you do this with?
Well, I have this amazing teacher. I could just go on and on.
Let's promote her. No, we'll do that. But
Yeah.
this is you, friends.
Well, actually, I am, in fact, bringing my teacher on to certain events that I'm going to be doing locally. So, as my business will sponsor the event, it'll be a fun thing just to say, let's dovetail the two interests and see what we can do. Well, her name is
Amazing.
Nitzreen, and she's based here in New Jersey. But the swing community is international. Um, all
That's
over the
amazing. I'm gonna look that up. I just learned something new, and I love dancing. That's great. That's awesome. Maybe something that we can bring to Toronto, which it probably exists here. I want to
I'm
believe that it
sure
exists.
because there are many, many people in Quebec who come down to Boston once a year for a group called Beantown in the summer. It's like a week-long retreat for dance.
Yeah.
So yes, Toronto, absolutely.
Amazing. Amazing. Wow. Wow. Okay. Okay. So let's get back to your specialty. First I want to ask you, because I think we all need to understand a little bit better, what is chronic disorganization?
I'm so glad you asked. Chronic disorganization is characterized by someone who has been disorganized most of their lives, whether from childhood or as an adult. Disorganization negatively impacts their daily life every day, and they have an expectation of continuing to be disorganized without some kind of an outside intervention. And often there's a excuse me, an underlying brain-based challenge or condition that may affect their executive function, of which organizing is one.
Wow. Is there such a thing within chronic disorganization for someone who is overly organized? OCD is, yeah.
Well, actually, yes. Some of my most challenging clients have had OCD.
Okay.
And the perspective is like, how can someone with OCD be disorganized? But there's also a bit of perfectionism involved.
Exactly.
So if someone can't go like from steps 1 to 5, they won't do it at all, or can't make a decision, or compulsively acquires because they need that perfect fit item.
Yes.
It's a lot.
So what gets the most affected in this chronic disorganization? What happens? How can we identify it? What really gets affected in our lives because of that?
Wow, I'm glad you asked that too. It could be pretty much anything. Someone could be struggling with time management. They might be, chronically late, or they miss appointments, or they have no timekeeping system whatsoever. Another person may be struggling with paper accumulation. Um, Another may just have like all of these beautiful creative ideas, and there are no systems in place that will be what I call like the bumpers on a bowling alley to keep them on track.
Right.
So it could be anybody because every brain is so unique.
Yeah. Yeah. And I ask that because I know I'm a fairly organized person. Okay, I come from a house where this is why I actually asked the OCD, because my parents, oh my God, I mean, it, it was too much, to be honest with you. And I think that when it's too much, it takes over other things. So I had to relax, because otherwise I felt that I wasn't enjoying, like when you want everything to be perfect, especially having 4 children, it's like I'm gonna miss out on other things. I know though that when something is disorganized in my life, like my closet, for example, my desk, it affects my energy, it affects me. And I don't know, it's like the chicken and the egg, to be honest with you, because I don't know what comes first. Is it me feeling a certain way and then it reflects my organization or disorganization of things? Right. So I think there's a big correlation here. That's why I asked the question. What do you think about that? What do you see in your clients?
Thank you for that. Well, I call it a biconditional arrow, that I don't necessarily think that one has to precede the other. I think they are codependent.
Yeah.
A cluttered brain can lead to a cluttered space, and a cluttered space can lead to a cluttered brain. So yeah, I agree 100%. When things are more calm and organized, we feel like we're in much more control.
Yes, that's exactly how I feel, and I do see the difference. I do see the difference, and I see the results as well. Gayle, what are some steps or the first steps? Because again, I want to provide people with actionable steps. What are the first steps that we should take in order to start to get organized?
I love that question. Well, as a shameless plug, if I may, I did just write a book called Get the Big O, Organized
Yes.
Steps.
Congratulations. I know you did. And thank you for mentioning that, of course.
Thank you. Thank you. So the book will take readers through the whole process, 7 steps. And the first one is what I call consult. So whether it's consulting with an organizer or another professional, or consulting with oneself, I feel that the first step is to figure out, like, what's the big why? Why does someone really want to get organized? Not usually for the sake of being organized, but it might be for, say, making space to bring in older parents who are downsizing, or someone is retiring, or empty nesting, or whatever it is. There's a big underlying reason for wanting to be more organized.
Interesting. Wow. I think like anything in life is, well, sometimes we do things because we feel that we have to do them, but there is that underlying why we want to do it. That's brilliant. That's thinking the why. Why do I need my desk better organized? Why do I need, for my husband to really clean that garage? Like, why? Right? I know you smile. You probably hear that a lot. Oh, the garage. I know.
Oh my gosh, yes.
That's probably a very sore point for a couple. Yeah.
There's marital strife over being organized.
Oh, there is. Oh, there is. Yes, yes. Now, so we're talking obviously about personally organizing ourselves, our space, our home. But you and I talked about this last week, how you can actually help, and you do help professionally. So businesses, offices to also get organized. How can you help companies and businesses to do that? And how does that affect their employees?
That's very wonderful. Thank you. The process is the same. Excuse me, as someone goes through the steps, so to speak, the systems are created. So whether it's at home or at work, the process would be similar. At work, we essentially want to do what we were talking about before. We want to clear the brain, clear the space so that productivity can increase. And whether it's a small company or a large company, a person is a person. So we still want to address, what are the biggest strengths that someone is bringing to the table, either at home or at work, and play to them. So the systems that we create, say for an employee, would want to play to those strengths and talents, and kind of weed out the rest, so to speak, so that their employer or their business is functioning at optimal capacity and being as profitable as possible.
Right. And I guess with people working today, people working from home, right, is
Yes.
maybe working with a company to help their employees to find that space, and organize that space. So that space is dedicated, first of all, is well organized, and it is dedicated specifically for work. So what are some of the sciences behind that workspace, if I may say?
In my humble opinion, I think it's easier to focus on one thing at a time when you have a dedicated space and a dedicated time. And we can go into time blocking and, how to create the boundaries between work and home, which is, anybody who works from home knows that's a major challenge. So creating a dedicated space, a dedicated time for work only, so that the brain is freed up to be as creative as possible and come up with novel ideas that might move the needle in the business. So it's really just it's compartmentalizing and focusing on one versus another.
Got it. Got it. Gayle, can you speak of a client? You don't have to mention names, but a client that you saw a huge shift in them personally, professionally, from you working with them and helping them get organized? Can you get into a little bit of details and use an example so it becomes more tangible for our listeners?
Absolutely. One of my absolute favorite clients, and I'm blessed to work with the most amazing people in the world. I am so grateful. I worked with this wonderful woman who had multiple brain-based challenges for about 12 years.
Wow.
And over that time, we started with clearing off her dining room table of papers. And it progressed to weekly, or then every other week, and a bit monthly. We did everything. We overhauled her entire house. We overhauled her entire life. And I'll take you through it just really fast. At each session, what we would do is we would start with the mail, because many people have issues with paper. It just comes, it piles up. It's like, yuck, no one wants to do it. So she would gather it all together for a week or so. And when I came, I would sort it out, open the envelopes, give her the good stuff, get rid of the trash, and file it away once she's acted on whatever it is she needed to do. Then we would go into another part of her house. And of course, she was the CEO of her world. So
Yes.
her family and whatever business or school she was doing at the time. So there was a lot to manage. Her sons were in high school at the time when we finished. They had graduated from college. So over time, we literally revamped her life. She wound up, of course, growing as her kids did. There was a major life change in that she wound up getting divorced. She ultimately moved across the country. Um, she had been going to school for design and engineering when I first met her, and then she became a photographer. So she literally changed her entire life and grew as a person as a result.
Wow. Wow, that's amazing. And so how long did you work with her for to create this
Oh,
change?
it was over 12 years.
Wow.
Oh, forgive me. She also had breast cancer along the way.
Oh, wow.
But
Wow.
she's fine. This woman, like, you can just look inside someone and see the gold in their heart and their head. That's what this person was like, and it is still.
Amazing. Wow, 12 years.
Um,
That's wow. I mean, I can appreciate that for many people, this could be a long life process, right? I'm sure that for some of us, it would be maybe, a couple of sessions. We're good. We now can continue. What do we need to watch out for? What are some of the warning signs of you are getting into chronic disorganization?
it's hard to know from the outside, like someone looking at another person. You could never know, and
But
someone could
for
be.
us, like how can I start to pay attention?
If the disorganization is really negatively impacting someone every day. And I think it was Anai Nin who had said, there came a time when the pain of staying in the bud was much more painful than blooming. So there are those rumblings of change that happen, like living with yourself for a long time, thinking, all right, it's not bothering me. And then one day someone could wake up and say, I just can't live like this anymore. So from a physical standpoint, if things get piled up, then it's you can visually see it. Um, and it's also the feeling of like, this is just not working. I've got to make a change.
Got it. Got it. Who would be someone ideal for you to work with?
I love all kinds of different people. Um, Sometimes creatives are are wonderful clients for someone like me specializing in chronic disorganization, because they're so right-brained and so creative and just have this amazing ability to see and do things that a more linear left brain dominant person might not be able to do. So someone who has that like lust for life in a creative capacity may not be so structured and organized. or someone who's super busy, maybe they have a lot of children and they're in a professional capacity. Like women doctors tend to be wonderful. Um, Business people who are running companies, consultants, retirees, empty nesters, life transition, tends to screw up our organizing systems.
Yeah. Yeah. Got it. Got it. Wow. This is, again, I'm telling you, self-conscious, even through the camera, I'm looking here. I'm like, oh, I hope Gayle doesn't see it because it's not perfect, but it is what it is.
And it doesn't have to be perfect.
I know exactly.
Yeah, for sure. It just has
And
to work.
that's so important, Gayle, because please, you know what? Let's really emphasize that it doesn't have to be perfect. And I know perfect is a very subjective word, but I think sometimes even as women, we are obsessed with, oh, it's got to be perfect. And if it's not going to be perfect, then I might as well just not do it. And then we just don't do anything because it's very black and white. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I think it's a very important point.
Absolutely. You are 100% on point. And I have kind of strong feelings about the media that if women in particular are not, if we're not thin enough or beautiful enough or this enough or that enough or organized enough and or make enough money or whatever it is, we're always getting these messages of being not enough. But when it comes to organizing, being organized enough is perfectly acceptable. And if the system works and you can maintain it and your family is happy and you're happy, then that's good. It doesn't have to look like a magazine because we don't live in a magazine.
Yes. I love that. It's finding a system that works for you, that is good enough for you. Not
Yes.
perfect,
Nope.
good enough for you. And I love that. And I thank you for reinforcing that, right? Because sometimes I look around, I'm like, yeah, no, we're not going for perfect. I'd rather sit down or go out or play or do something fun or even just be with, my children, my family, and it's okay. There's a few cups here and there, a few utensils that are not, in place, and that's okay. Even though my children would think that I'm always nagging them to put things away, but hey, um, Gayle, a final thought of if we're talking about this organization, maybe a final thought to make people feel good about themselves. Because again, when you a chronic disorganization and being disorganized and it not being perfect, we talked about, but what is something that you can leave us with to feel good about ourselves and maybe get started to organize ourselves a little bit better?
Yes, I'm so glad you asked that as well. So first, my overall bit of advice for anyone who is approaching an organizing project is just start. Doesn't matter where, doesn't matter with what, and start small so that you can feel a sense of accomplishment. And really, because that confidence builds, more ability as you go forward. Um, I definitely like to stress, um, let's let's examine what's good about you. Think about what are your strengths, what are your talents, what do you love about yourself, what do people constantly tell you they love about you because
Mm,
they're telling you the truth. Um, we see, from the inside, all of our like we see the blooper reel, but somebody else may see the sizzle tape.
so
So
true. So true.
yeah,
So true. So take the strengths that you possess inside you
yes,
and start small with some,
yes,
I don't know, sorting out coins or change around your house, like something so simple that could give you that sense of accomplishment. I
yes,
like that. I like that. Yes, because sometimes it could be overwhelming, right? You look at that garage,
yes.
overwhelming. Yeah, yeah, I like that. Thank you. Thank you, Gayle. Thank you so much, Gayle, for being here with me, providing that sense of th- th- I guess of security and okayness, if that's even a word, for people to feel fine about where they are in their organization, lack of organization, and never strive for perfection, but let it just be good enough. So it gives you that sense of um, positive energy, right? To live in a positive space, to work in a positive space. That doesn't have to be perfect, but it has to be good enough for you to be able to function and take away the stress that you might feel.
Absolutely. That was so perfectly said.
Thank you. No, I'm paraphrasing because, I'm telling you, I get a lot from this because in my genes is the perfection, right?
Yeah.
That's the house that I grew up in. It's got to be perfect, OCD. So I always have to take myself back. And so thank you for reinforcing it's got to be good enough for all of us.
That's right. Happiness is paramount.
Gayle, again, thank you so much for being here. I'm going to put all your coordinates in the description and your book as well, so people can get it, find it, and utilize you and work with you to help them get organized and have a much productive, better, effective, efficient life, both professionally and personally. Thank you for being here, Gayle. I appreciate you for that.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
This has been another episode of Call Me Crazy with Shiri Gabriel. Make sure to join in next week for a new episode, and if you would like to contact Miss Gabriel about speaking or training at your next conference, function, or event, visit shiri.coach.